works. I'm Kevin Kearns. I'm Vice President for Engagement and Economic Development here at Fredonia, and it's great to welcome you here today. On behalf of President Horvath, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Chautauqua County on the Move. I'd like to thank the Northern County Community Foundation and LED for allowing us to host this event today in our new Science Center. I hope you get a chance to poke around and let me know if you'd like a tour. Although Rich Alexander is supposed to do formal introductions, I think Rich and Vince, I'd like to at least recognize and give a nice round of applause to our speakers today, including Vince Horgan, our County Executive, Michael Fancher, Vice President for Business Development and Economic Outreach at SUNY Polytech Institute, and Teresa Bear, we just met and I'm already insulting her, the Senior VP of Corporate Development and the Legal Affairs at Phoenix. So let's get them all around. Under Governor Cuomo's leadership and with SUNY Poly at the forefront, SUNY universities have played an increasing role in economic development, and Fredonia is no exception. As the only four-year institution in the county and as one of the county's largest employers, Fredonia has embraced the challenges of leveraging our resources to positively impact the vitality of our region. Fredonia faculty and staff work very closely with the LED, with the IDA, the Village of Fredonia, City of Dunkirk, County Executive Oregon, and others on initiatives such as Startup New York, with the mutual goal of bolstering our economic vitality. In addition, under the leadership of Provost Terry Brown, Fredonia is reshaping the academic curriculum to meet the rapidly changing needs of corporate and business partners. Student internships, community-based research, and other applied learning experiences remain critical to achieving our student outcomes and ensuring that graduates are prepared to enter the workforce. The Fredonia Technology Incubator in Dunkirk has become a focal point of economic development activity in the northern Chautauqua County. FDI is a full-service incubator with a unique focus on arts and technology. Although we primarily serve the local region, our reach is regional. Along with UB and the Alfred University, we are founding members of the Western New York Innovation Network, a state-funded program that supports incubators and startup businesses throughout Western New York. The program, which is housed at UB, connects FDI to the Buffalo and Western New York entrepreneurial ecosystem. Similarly, our involvement with the $20 million Clean Business Contest 76 West ties us into the Southern Tier Innovation Centers from Fredonia to Cornell to Binghamton. It's clear from the remarkable economic progress that's been made thus far that regional collaboration is the key to our success. It's also apparent that utilizing SUNY and private universities to catalyze economic recovery will allow all regions of the state to benefit from the economic renaissance that is underway. Thank you very much. It's now my pleasure to introduce Diane Hannum, Executive Director of the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation. Diane has been with the foundation for 20 years, 16 of which she served as the Executive Director. Diane earned a master's degree in Public and International Affairs from the University of Pittsburgh and a bachelor's degree in political science from Allegheny College. Her commitment to community is evident through her service. She's on the County Land Bank Board of Directors, Citizen Advisory Board, the North County Steering Committee for Coalition of Women and Girls, and many others. So please welcome Diane.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for attending. I'd like to start by thanking our host, SUNY Fredonia. What a gorgeous building this is. If you haven't had the opportunity, please walk around. They have so many interesting things to look at. To our panelists, County Executive Vince Corrigan, Michael Fancher, and Teresa Baer, you have the Community Foundations and the community's gratitude for visiting our community and sharing your knowledge and your thoughts. I also need to thank the Foundation's staff, Tiffany Yerko, our new LED coordinator, Nancy Mosier, Ida, Lord, smile when you see her pointing her camera at you, Eileen Dunn, and did I say Nancy? Okay, thank you. Spring has finally arrived in Chautauqua County, hasn't it? And you might say that it has arrived both figuratively and literally. What an appropriate time it is then, to gather, to learn, to discuss, as the summit is titled, Chautauqua County on the Move. Since 1986, the Foundation has been working for an even better Northern Chautauqua County, the place we call home. We pursue this mission in three ways. First, through the promotion of local philanthropy. Our assets are currently around $24 million, and we've received gifts annually from hundreds of people, from $5 to $5,000. The second way we pursue this mission is through grant making, strategic grant making. Since our establishment, again in 1986, we've awarded, I think, around $12 million in the form of grants and scholarships, a wide variety of programs. I find it interesting that one of our most recent grants was for pickleball courts. So anybody interested in pickleball, go to the North Lake Recreational Center. Our third approach is community leadership and collaboration. And that's what's brought us here today. While we have throughout the years participated in various collaborations, significant ones, and have led various initiatives, nothing has compared to this work of the LED. The committee is remarkable. I can't imagine the number of hours they have put into this effort since 2012. You have on the back of your program a listing of both the executive committee and the members. I would encourage you to speak with these individuals, to ask what's going on. They have a great amount of knowledge and would like to share it with you. As I look around, I was remiss in mentioning our intern, Morgan Dunn, who has been with us for quite a while now, and we appreciate the work she's been doing with us as well. I now have the pleasure of introducing the LED's chair, Rich Alexander. Wow. Rich's involvement in the community is extensive. He's the former director of Chautauqua Opportunities Incorporated, former IDA director, founder of Alexander and Associates. He brings, as you can tell by what I just mentioned, quite a bit of expertise to the LED. Throughout his career and into his retirement as well, you are retired, right, Rich? He has promoted collaboration throughout his career, and he continues to do so in his retirement. He was the first chair of the Chautauqua Center and is very involved in SUNY Fredonia. I have to add also, Rich, you add a lot to our meetings. Some we can mention, some we can't, so I'll call you up now. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for the kind, I think, introduction, Diane, and thanks to Kevin Kearns for his remarks. I don't know if they were kind, but I know they were darn good. So, This is a really exciting day for northern Chautauqua County. It's terrific to see a crowd this size. For me, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because it means I know a lot of people in the audience, and I'm afraid of what might happen during this. It is reflective of the tremendous interest in the recent economic development news, and it is reflective of the enthusiasm for the opportunities we anticipate. Momentum really seems to be on our side. The local economic development team is delighted to be a co-sponsor and part of this fourth Economic Development Summit. This is LED's fourth such event, and today we participate as a co-sponsor, not a sole sponsor, symbolic of our efforts to create collective action on the part of main sectors that affect economic development. It is also symbolic of our three-legged stool approach of creating collaborative efforts between the public, private, and education sectors. LED strives to be a part of bringing these groups together to identify, encourage, and sustain new economic opportunities for northern Chautauqua County. LED is a sponsored initiative of the Northern Chautauqua Foundation. I'd like to take a moment to express appreciation and admiration to Diane and the NCCF board. They see the value of investing in such an endeavor to utilize local business leaders to bring key players from the private sector together with the county government, SUNY Fredonia and JCC, and the local governments to identify solutions to problems and seek openings for new growth and improvement. The LED committee, with its cluster and other subcommittees, are convinced that this strategy of full engagement and coordination is vital to the success of economic initiatives and vibrancy in northern Chautauqua County. We are hopeful about the future of the northern Chautauqua region, inspired by expansion and involvement of our education engines, SUNY Fredonia and JCC, supported by the enthusiasm of the business community, and energized by new leadership in some of our towns and the development of a strategic vision for how we gain strengths. I am proud to be a part of the LED and our accomplishments in a short time. I'd like to briefly review who we are and what we're focused on currently. And I'll be presenting from the slide, so if you want to look up there, that's what I'll be talking about now. First, what is the LED? Well, it's a committee that started in 2011. It was started by a group of business leaders in northern Chautauqua County. Legend has it that they formed the idea through some coffee clutching where all good ideas are hatched, and I don't think it's stopped since. Right, Jake? In 2012, the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation adopted this group to help fulfill their vision of a northern county region with a vibrant economy, providing excellent opportunities for investment and employment of its diverse labor force. The area, as you might know, encompasses the entire lake shore from Silver Creek all the way to Ripley. The mission of the local Economic Development Committee is to provide private enterprise leadership in the creation and development of a community-based economic strategic planned action for the northern Chautauqua area. Our priority themes for our strategy are: one, we believe in private sector leadership and partnerships. We believe in a regional focus, and that focus is primarily in northern Chautauqua County, but we don't forget ever that we're part of the Western New York region and the Buffalo region. And finally, strategic planning is at the core of what we do so that we always have a roadmap. The initiatives that LED supports, the Chautauqua Bay Regional Water System, where we provided technical assistance and advice to further development of a regional water system. And we support efforts on Lake Erie for economic development while keeping an eye on protecting Lake Erie. And we also, of course, support workforce development and support through improved training and education of the local workforce by joining with existing education and training institutions, employers, and other coalition partners. Finally, our activities are designed to be solution-oriented. We pick and choose from a menu of possible activities, including research and assessment, advocacy, relation building, public outreach, and education. We in our planning divide economic development into 8 industry clusters. Among them include agribusiness, business support, health sciences and life sciences, tourism and hospitality, and advanced manufacturing and traditional manufacturing. Having you here today is hopefully a recruitment opportunity for us. Currently, we have 18 committee members and another 70 or so advisors and stakeholders. We'd love to have you join us. Please be sure to speak with me or one of our board members to join the team. If you haven't already, please visit our cluster tables, talk to our members, and sign up on the sheets if you're interested in becoming part of our LED volunteer initiative in support of Northern Chautauqua's economic growth. I'd like to close with a thank you to all of you for being here today. I'd also like to acknowledge local leaders joining the cause. We have 2 new mayors with us today, Mayor Rosas and Mayor Landis. We have a representative for Senator Young, Lisa Vanstrom, and Congressman Reed's, a representative from Congressman Reed's office, Jacqueline. Your last name is? Oh, what is it? Oh, well, anyway, it's Phelps. Good. Andy Goodell, over there. Andy Goodell, our assemblyman, a large supporter of ours, legislators, Bob Bankowski, Kevin Maldoney, and Mark Odell. Where are you? Okay. And Terry Needle with his Boston Red Sox. It's back there. Okay. Mary LaRoe, who is the new CPO of Brooks. Where is Mary? There she is. Welcome, Mary. The SUNY Fredonia team, and I'd be remiss if I didn't send out a thank you to President Horvath for providing us with this great auditorium. And I saw Terry Brown walk in, the provost. Where are you, Terry? There you are. Hi, Terry. Then the Jamestown team, Corey Duckworth and his Jamestown team, right here. My friend Elizabeth Booth, my friend John, welcome. And economic development agencies, I saw Kevin Sandwich over there. And the LED committee and cluster members, if you could raise your hands, please, the current ones, all the LED members and cluster members. Okay, it looks like we've packed the hall. Anyway, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the committee members who organized the event. They include Tiffany Yuriko, John Ames, where are you guys? Back there. Gina Paradis, Ida Klein, and Karen Beeger, who I saw before. Finally, I'd like to introduce Vince Horgan, our county executive, and one of our featured speakers. Vince's dedication, enthusiasm, energy, and wisdom have gone miles to facilitate collaborative efforts. He is going to share some of the reasons we have to celebrate progress this year in Chautauqua County. Thank you so much for joining us today.
1 year ago, I stood here and I said, we're going to break through the bow wave. That wave that builds up when you're trying to go supersonic and it pushes back because you're trying to get through. Ladies and gentlemen, we're breaking through the bow wave. This is an exciting time in Chautauqua County. This is a great day. When the governor came and announced the Athenix project and SUNY Polytech, he talked about industry and what's been happening. We all know, we've heard about the tremendous progress in Buffalo and the cranes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's coming to Chautauqua County. We're finally here. I just want to highlight a couple of things. This is a presentation that Kevin Sandus just gave based to our economic development team on stuff that's happening. It's called really a new wave of economic development. So the next slide. This is the pillar of our economy. It's multifaceted. Industry, of course, tourism, small business, agriculture. I have to acknowledge healthcare with a major investment up here in the North County and also the South County. So these are the pillars. It's not one or the other, it's all of the above. And of course, our whole desire is to grow the jobs, grow opportunity, not only to get those jobs, opportunity for our young people, opportunity for business development and expansion. And of course, being a political guy, county government, we need taxes, right? So we got increased sales tax, increased occupancy tax for our lakes, for our tourism, so important to us, and growing the tax base, growing our county so that we have more taxpayers, more people to pay in, more expansion, more development, more customers for business. So that's where we're really at. Next slide. We are in the midst of not just projects, not just economic, but transformational projects in Chautauqua County. The Comedy Center, $21 million project, $15 million at hand. They'll be opening next year, the Cooperstown Comedy. This is a national comedy center that will bring people here from all over the world. $27 million investment, 127,000 people coming to Chautauqua County, and with them comes out that opportunity that we so need. In the Dunkirk area, we all know this waterfront is such a great resource. And together with the mayor, together with our IDA team, we are on the cusp of major economic development in the Dunkirk area waterfront. Very exciting opportunities. Yesterday I was with a couple of fishing boat captains as we gave away fishing poles to some of our students, and they're talking about the excitement that's going on. This waterfront, 3 years from now, I predict, is going to be the destination that is going to bring people here from really all over. And get them out of Buffalo in a river walk, get them down here. That's what we're looking to do. We all remember the pierogi factory up in Westfield, unfortunately, was not sustainable. That property has been sold, and you'll soon hear about crunch rolls. But we have a new opportunity up there, new economic development that's taken place, additional hiring. We've taken a business that didn't make it, transformed it, and now it'll be a new opportunity coming our way. Energy is obviously something that's been on our minds. NRG, we're still optimistic, we're pushing for that repowering. In the meantime, the wind turbine projects, we'll have over 96 of these projects, or I should say wind turbines, renewable energy coming to especially the north part of the county. The solar projects are coming to fruition with that technology, especially the production in Buffalo. That technology is really growing. In addition to that, we certainly hope that we're able to get energy on track. The good news is in the budget, we've got, thanks to Andy Goodell, Kathy Young, and others, we've been able to get those tax payments back to the county, to the city, to the school district, so that the loss of only a small portion of those will be felt rather than the impact completely. But energy is a major part of us. The wineries, the craft breweries, it's all good. And it's going to be those people that come and live and work here that are not only going to go to the south part of the county and maybe the comedy center, but will come up here on the wine tours. This industry is growing, 27 wineries. We have a Southern Tier brewery. We have another brewery that's going to open in Jamestown. It's all about beer and wine. So it's all going to be great, and another industry that's growing substantially. Empire Cheese Company is growing in the Asheville area. We took a company that really needed some help, got them in there, and as we speak, there's international interest in this company, and again, we are very hopeful that the 95 employees there will double in employment going forward. International interest in this, that are seeing what's happening in Chautauqua County. Transformational. We're not ready to announce the name of the company, but we do have a manufacturing company that has decided to settle in Chautauqua County. That'll be a manufacturing one that we haven't seen in a while. And that's an exciting opportunity, again, manufacturing coming back to Chautauqua County. Next, the LECOM Health Challenge. This PGA golf tournament, it will be a 4-year commitment, bringing in 5 to 7 million economic development per year, 40 to 50,000 people, again, coming to Chautauqua County for professional golf. And when they come and they travel, and they come up to the Dunkirk Harbor, and they go drink the winery, or see the wineries and the beer breweries, they're going to want to own a beautiful home. And so that's what we see, bringing people from across the United States to Chautauqua County. This was very difficult to get done. We got it done, and special thanks to the IDA team that has pursued professional golf, bringing it back to Chautauqua County. And then there's something called Athenix. This clearly is a transformational project. It's exciting. When the governor came and made that announcement, you could feel it, spring in the step. And ever since then, everybody from education to business to our municipal leaders, to our legislators, to our hospital team, everybody wants to know more. So I'm going to be quiet because we're going to hear a lot more about this today. So next slide. Michael Fancher is Vice President of Economic Outreach and Business Development. You'll see his extensive bio in the program. He is a scientist. He is a researcher. Most importantly to all of us, he knows how to bring this science and nanotechnology to a commercial venture, to business. He is with SUNY Polytech. I invite him forward now because he's going to tell us about their role, because they are the ones that the governor is using to kick this project off. So with that, join me in a round of applause for Michael Fancher.
Thank you, County Executive Corrigan. It's been a pleasure. I've actually had a chance to meet several people this morning, and I'm very impressed by the opportunity to speak to really the thought leaders in the region. So very excited to be here. And what do we have? We have close down. So I took the liberty of changing the title of the presentation from pharmaceutical manufacturing to research, development, and deployment strategy. So what I thought I would try to do today is give a little background, context, so that you can understand the Athenix project and what that comes in. Of course, I couldn't ask for a better room to be in. Being a person that works in nanotechnology, I love the periodic table. So what is, who knows what nanotechnology is? Any ideas? It's a big business. Well, I like to use the phrase, and of course people will cringe when they hear this, but nanotechnology is really like discovering the infinite periodic table. Because what we found was that materials at the nanoscale have very different properties than they have in the bulk scale. For example, a material that's a conductor in the bulk form might actually be an insulator in this nano form. So what we have is research going on in how do you understand and then harness those materials and the combinations of those materials for a variety of applications, whether that be computer chips or whether you start tagging those small molecules for pharmaceutical drug delivery, particularly cancer solutions. So what I'm going to do is give a little background on SUNY Poly so that you start to understand. Go ahead. So again, so SUNY Poly is a not a traditional university. It's a public-private partnership model for where higher education has come together with industrial partners. Today we have about $24 billion of investment just in our Albany site, and around $26 billion across our hubs across New York State. And that, of course, includes both the state, but the vast majority is the industrial investment. We have about 3,600 people on site in our Albany hub, with about 1.67 million square feet. About 135,000 of that is in clean room, and I'll show you, this is a picture of a clean room. And the reason it's clean is to, it's not to protect the people, the bunny suits, it's to protect the computer chips from the particles that people give off. We work with well over 300 industrial partners from all around the world. Okay? For 2013, we were ranked #1 in the country for industry-sponsored research and development, beating out MIT, Duke, and other higher education institutions. The focus of this, the strategy, the investment model, is to establish regional, state-of-the-art, Switzerland-like hubs that includes New York State as a major investor in the capital or infrastructure of those hubs so that we can provide shared use of these state-of-the-art resources to our industrial partners. We also pool intellectual assets and physical resources to accelerate the transition of innovation to commercial success. And of course, that the cornerstone of all of that is protecting the intellectual property rights for all of the different players that operate within that ecosystem. This is a picture of our Albany hub. If you've ever driven on your way to Boston or hung a right to New York City on the thruway, you would have most likely been able to see our complex from the road. And what you'll see are a variety of different facilities, and you'll notice a lot of tanks and pipes and things like that, and that's because this site is designed for industry-compliant infrastructure. So this is what the semiconductor industry is using for high-volume manufacturing. And that's really unmatched anywhere in the world at an academic institution. And so it's obviously the cost to commercialize nanotechnology, to produce it into products, has gone up exponentially over the years. And so what's happened is that those companies can't afford to remain in the game if they stay isolated and do it on their own. So what they've done is they've approached it as a way to burden share that cost. Next. Now our name changed about 1.5 years ago to SUNY Polytechnic Institute. Prior to that, we were part of the University of Albany, and we were the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering. But about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, we were merged with the SUNY Institute for Technology in Utica. And so we're now the Colleges of Nanoscale Science and Engineering under the umbrella of SUNY Polytechnic Institute, which now brings the Utica campus with its traditional engineering, nursing school, business school, the more traditional academic programs. But it also includes a site across the road that we that can host 3 chip fabs of semiconductor manufacturing type companies. And one of those that's going in, that has been announced and under construction, is a company called AMS, called Austrian Microsystems. And anybody with a smartphone, their sensors are in your phone today. But they make sensors for all types of industrial processes as well, and could potentially be participating in programs for pharmaceutical manufacturing. And then here's the campus down below, and another announced partnership with General Electric. I won't go into that. So kind of just, I mentioned the word ecosystem, and I think that's what I heard the county executive talking about, I heard Kevin talking about, was a vibrant ecosystem. And New York State has been investing in these ecosystems really for the last, I'd say, 30 years. I am also the executive director for the Center for Advanced Technology, or CAT. And that CAT, under the CAT program, is what precipitated all of this, the growth that you've seen at SUNY Polytechnic Institute. We're going to hear from Athenex and how they are a local success story of those programs. And so really the next step, the investment that New York is making now in Athenex is the logical next step in what has been a long-term strategy to invest in innovation and commercialization. But in this ecosystem, you'll see a variety of chip companies that are doing work, and each have hundreds of people located at our Albany hub. We have the equipment suppliers, we have the materials and ancillary support service companies, but then we also host industry consortia, and of course support startup companies that are often funded by the Department of Defense or energy or those types of agencies. So all of these are able to kind of share the use of this unmatched infrastructure. And what we find is it's not just technology and everybody using it in isolation. There's an enormous number of cross connects between these little companies with big companies, supply, vertical chain alliances. And so it's a very frenetic type of environment. And this is really what we're establishing at the various hubs across the state. Not the exact same, but complementary focus, technology focuses to take advantage of both the business relationships we have as well as the technology capabilities that we have in Albany. So each hub is tethered to Albany in a variety of different ways. And I'm going to try to provide a few slides to kind of give you an idea of how that works. Yeah, so first slide, you can just kind of click through fairly so. So we focus on the research phase next, the development phase, and then finally the deployment phase. So first, I want you to understand there's an ecosystem. Second, that there's a progression of a technology moving from discovery to commercial success. The research, development, deployment phase. And as that happens, the degree of investment goes up, the risk goes up, and the difficulty goes up. And so what SUNY Poly has done has entered the equation by creating a confidential, state-of-the-art infrastructure that can basically correlate data on these next-generation technologies so that there's faster learning, a resolution of manufacturing problems, and then driving towards standards that can then be inserted into high-volume manufacturing around the country, around the state and around the country. Now with that, we've developed that kind of know-how using the semiconductor industry, because that industry was really the first to deploy nanotechnology in a high-volume, low-cost manufacturing model. Many other industries are interested in nanotechnology, but they do not have a roadmap, and I heard Kevin mention roadmap, which is I love to hear. They do not have a roadmap, and that roadmap is a vision of shared challenges. It's not a roadmap of solutions, it's a vision of shared challenges. And so what we do is, as we look into emerging applications like nano applied to bio and pharmaceutical, is we're helping to aggregate the industry, form an ecosystem, define a roadmap, a vision of shared challenges, and then accelerate the time in which we can transition discovery into commercial success. And to do that by taking advantage of the region's assets that they already have. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by Fredonia and this campus just coming here. And, you know, New York has enormous regional assets that we all know. We all know, oh, you know, this is here, the Chautauqua Institute is here. I mean, I feel like I'm in Chautauqua. I listen to it on NPR every week, and, you know, it's fabulous assets, but they weren't linked together. And everyone was battling on their own. Individual companies were battling in a global context. Regions were battling in a global context. I mean, our competition is not Buffalo to Chautauqua. It's not even Massachusetts to New York. It's other international countries where they are investing heavily in these types of models. What's unique about the New York model is that academia is put at the center of these models. And I think that's an important takeaway because workforce and development of the entire supply chain of workforce, both technicians right up to PhDs, is critically important for the creative economy that we hear so much about, where quality of life now plays such an important role. Next slide. We're going to click through, so just kind of doing those slowly, but just start clicking. So we support education workforce training with a focus on PhD and master's degrees, doctoral internship programs, bachelor's of science programs, partnerships, short courses, industry training, partnerships with the community colleges and other schools for technician level and operator level training. And then we have a variety of programs with teacher training, high school programs, inner city, at-risk youth programs. We have a broad array of partnership opportunities and educational opportunities, or on-ramps. I like to think of them as on-ramps. Because of an ecosystem, when you have the manufacturing scale, you now are able to be relevant to the customer. And now you have a much clearer eye on what they need in their skills training, on what they need in their R&D, on what they need for any other activities, financing, or what have you. Next slide. So SUNY Poly, we have research focuses. I won't go into it, but I just did want to point out we have a huge focus in biological systems. You might just think we're all about computer chips and the inorganic side of the periodic table or of the science, but we really are very focused on bringing nano know-how into the biological realm. And I thought I'd put a case in point here just for fun. Next slide. There's a novel new device that was discovered called memristors. And memristors kind of remember the last charge that it had. And it can kind of build up a resistance to that charge happens multiple times. So hit it again. So what we're able to do is actually begin building devices that mirror the human neuron. Next slide. And so what we do is we are able to build transistors called memristors that are think like the human brain. The same kind of structural layout, if you will. And this is just one example of how nano can be applied to biologics, directly as a neuron, or nanomaterials used in pharmacological solutions such as addressing cancer. Next slide. So, creating an upstate nanotech corridor. Let's give it context. So we've got a little sense of kind of where we started, where we're going now as a region, as a multi-regional strategy. Go ahead. First, I mean, New York has an amazing higher education infrastructure, unmatched really in the country. We're first in the nation in nano degrees, second in the number of first-tier universities, second in the nation for engineering degrees. We have 64 state universities and 86 private colleges. Unbelievable. And that was New York's model in the SUNY system, was to distribute it, right? While other states like Ohio was up, they have these massive campuses, and they have, great for a big football team. But what economy are we in today? What is the word you always hear? The distributed economy, right? Distributed computing, distributed social networks, so everything is networked, right? That's what defines the 21st century. And having a portal, a handheld device that allows you to enter into that domain or the platforms of the 21st century. So what does New York have? We have a network. We have a network of the research, of the education, of all of the elements that we need. What we needed was a portal, the handheld, to get you into it. And that's what those hubs. Next slide. So the hubs are focused on a strategy that, on the inputs, if you see, targeted public-private partnership investments, shared integration, co-location facilities, so that burden sharing, and then shovel-ready technology parks. So we're ready to take, when we're ready to go to high-volume manufacturing, it happens in New York State, not out of the state. And I can't remember the product, but I know in the legislature many years ago, there was some invention in the Buffalo area that was like ubiquitous in today's life. And it was invented, developed in Buffalo, and it was manufactured outside the state. And New York was like, this has got to stop. We do all the work, and then we don't capture the rewards. So what we're focusing on for the outcomes is the research and development phase. Remember I talked about the 3 phases? So in the research and development phase, you have startups. In the development phase, you're going after the supply chain partners, the equipment suppliers, the material suppliers. And then finally, in your deployment phase, or manufacturing scale-up, that's where you go after the manufacturers, like Athena's, like Solar City. Next slide. And so when you think about this, you'll hear the phrase bridging the valley of death, right? That's what you always hear in startups, valley of death. Why is it the valley of death? Well, this is a line, the red line shows cash flow. And then I've overimposed the research and development phase, the pilot prototype or development phase, and the scale-up phase. And you can see how very low cash flow requirements in the R&D phase. That's why incubators, little startups, they get by with whatever they can scrounge together. And that's very important. But you can see where they start to really hit, what was the bow,
Bow wave.
Bow wave, right? They hit the bow wave, and you see concept plant, pilot plant, demonstration plant, first gen commercial plant, second gen. Those are really where the regional partnerships are focusing in on, right? This is going on at every university, every national lab, all over the world, all over the country. That's great. We want to pull them in. We're going to extract them and bring them into New York State. But why are they going to come here? Because this is the big challenge for them. This is where you have that shared access model. This is where you have an ecosystem of other partners, customers, suppliers, investors. This is where you capture the economic rewards. Next slide. So what Governor Cuomo has done is to invest in these hubs through SUNY Polytechnic Institute, where the facilities, the equipment, everything is owned by the SUNY Poly, by New York State. So let's say a company doesn't work out. Let's say, market trends, who knows what happens. That investment doesn't leave with the creditors of that company. It stays in the New York domain. And we'll go out and bring in another company because SUNY Poly is in a position where we're interfacing with hundreds of companies. We can find a way to repurpose those assets in a variety of different ways. And what you're seeing here is a lot of these the hubs are kind of split up. Like our photonics hub, some of it's in Albany, some of it's in Rochester. Our photovoltaics, some of it's in Buffalo with manufacturing, Rochester, and Albany for PV manufacturing consortia. We have LED lighting, power electronics. GE's power electronics consortia that we have with GE is in Albany and Utica. Different aspects of the manufacturing process. They're not just duplications. For power electronics, we do the wafer production in Albany, and then we package it in Utica. So everything is complementary across the domain, and it creates a corridor, a rich corridor. So if you're a company that is looking to, let's say, the Central New York region has identified drones as a strategic opportunity. And drones are really the embodiment of the Internet of Things. We've all heard of the Internet of Things, the $20 trillion market by 2020. So when you think about attracting companies, if you are able to do all of the smart devices, not only develop it, but manufacture those smart devices that are going to enable the drone, enable the Internet of Things, that's half the equation. The next is the data analytics, right? What do you do with that data? Let's say there's a hub in Buffalo for the Information Technology and Innovation Hub. Just a coincidence? Well, then when you look at the Buffalo Medical Innovation Center, bioinformatics, right? The Center of Excellence in Buffalo is bioinformatics. So now you start to see all of these pieces are interwoven with each other, and that they support each other. And they come through a single portal called SUNY Poly. So the implementation of programs can be seamless, quick, fast. That's what the market requires. Next. So just to kind of show, I had mentioned IBM, the Data Analytics Hub, the focus on photovoltaics, research, development, and deployment with Solar City, Solivo, and then, of course, pharmaceutical research, development, and deployment. The main thing I want you to take away from is that these investments, the Athenics project, for example, is not just the manufacturing piece. In fact, I think the next slide, I think I have the slide here. Well, okay, actually, let me take a step back. So the hub was announced in 2012, December announcement 2012, with a company called AMRI. They're a contract research and development pharmaceutical company. And why would we choose someone like that? When you're a contract, actually, let me take a step back. In the capital region, we have a computer chip manufacturer called Global Foundries. In Global Foundries, the original deal was done with AMD, computer chip, logic chip maker, and they decided to get out of the business of making the chips. They were just going to focus on the design of the chips. And they were going to contract with Global Foundries, just as their name implies, foundry. They're going to produce for a lot of different customers. So what they're doing is the cost of these chip fabs are upwards around $15 billion. So rather than having a single product by one company, it makes more sense to diversify the risk to produce many different products for many different customers. And so the capital region has a foundry as one of those core anchor partners. AMRI is similar to that. They're a foundry research and development. They work for all the pharmaceutical companies in developing next generation pharmaceuticals. So they came in, and of course, we focused on the supply chain partners, so PerkinElmer announcement was made, but there was also an announcement with a startup company in the Buffalo area and a nanomedicine center that's also in Buffalo. So again, building out that ecosystem. Next slide. And then, of course, the announcement that the county executive Oregon mentioned back in February of this year with an enormous investment, an enormous number of jobs to be created in a very large 300,000 square foot building. And I think really what it shows is a major milestone from in fact, actually, I think the funds were released or approved just about a year and a half ago for the AMRI. So really, you're looking at within a year and a half, the ecosystem is already starting to get traction. Now, why is that? Because the Buffalo region has this very rich biomedical community. Jacobs Institute, Vascular Institute, the Cancer, Roswell Park, and all the investments to create that biomedical campus. And so on that campus is the Coventus building. And that is where AMRI and Athenics are doing their R&D. But the manufacturing, obviously you're not going to do that in downtown Buffalo. You're going to do that in a less dense location. But it needs to be close. It needs to be close because manufacturing is now there's a tight coupling between R&D and manufacturing in almost all sectors. And bringing nanotechnology, both the know-how as well as the knowledge of the materials and that aspect of it is the promise for innovation in the future. And so that is what I think is compelling for companies to make a decision to locate. I always say it's a necessary and sufficient condition. So the financial incentive is the necessary condition. But that alone doesn't bring a company in. It's the sufficient condition, the workforce, the interconnections with other companies, the joining of an ecosystem, the quality of life, all of those other things are just as important, and that you really need to do both. And Governor Cuomo recognizes that and has invested in these hubs as catalysts to leverage the resources each region has. Next slide. So concluding thoughts. I have one slide. This is Dan Hutchison is a noted semiconductor industry analyst, and he talks about there being a huge global head turn from Austin, Texas to Albany. Now everyone sees Austin as being in decline, and Albany is the next big thing. And we did this all in about 10 years. So when you think about the rate at which the technology is moving, it creates an opportunity for those regions that can move as quickly to intercept their roadmap, to provide on-ramps for local companies, startups, big companies, what have you, suppliers, to integrate into that industry's roadmap. They may not have a roadmap, we're going to help define that roadmap to drive standards so that we can capture more and more of that industry in our region. So with that, I think that's my last slide. I'll close and turn it back over to Ken.
I'm just glad I'm not taking your final exam. If I did, I'd have that up on the wall there. Thank you very much. Fascinating of how all that comes together. Well, hold on to your hats. You know, George Borello is chair of my Regional Solutions Commission, and you're now going to hear about Athenex, the company that's coming to town. But you're going to hear about an international story. We literally are going to bring the world into Chautauqua County, and Chautauqua County is going to manufacture cancer drugs for the world. Very exciting. You've seen her bio in the insert in the program. The coolest thing is a super lawyer, but Terry Bear is the Corporate Development Legal Affairs Senior Vice President. Please welcome Terry.
Thank you, Vince. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
On behalf of Athenex, I'm very excited to be here. We're really looking forward to engaging with your community, both the business community and the educational community, and we have a lot of work to do, and we're really looking forward to it. I work in a role that goes across the entire company, both in the US and in Asia, and across the entire company, across every discipline. Everyone is really, really excited about this project. So I thought it might help if I'm going to come here and speak with you for the first time to let you know a little bit about our company. I'll give you a very broad brush of it so that you leave here with just sort of a general understanding of what we do and what we're hoping to bring to your beautiful community. Next slide, please. This is a wheel that you don't have to look very closely at. I'll just tell you what our company does. We have R&D facilities in Buffalo, in New Jersey, and in Asia. We have scientists, biologists, and chemists working on our cancer candidates, the same cancer candidates, across all of these labs. We have 6 anti-cancer drugs that are currently in the clinic, which means they're being tested on humans across the world. We have lots of clinical trials ongoing right now, all in oncology drugs, and they're all being overseen by different R&D teams around the world. And we also are getting involved in greenfield manufacturing, which is what we call what we're going to be doing here in Dunkirk. We're doing the same thing right now in Greater China, a gigantic city called Chongqing, China. We're getting ready to start a new facility there as well, just like what we're doing here in Dunkirk, and it's also a public-private partnership. And we also have existing manufacturing facilities in China and in the US. Next slide, please. Again, please don't try to read this. I wanted to give you a sense of the depth of our leadership team at Athenex. We have the executive leadership of our company who have a background in pharmaceuticals, have decades of experience in pharmaceuticals. And as you look at, if you see the little pictures on this chart, that means that that guy brought all of those drugs to market. So we have people leading our company who have spent decades at Roche, Merck, Schering-Plough, and were personally involved in bringing all of these products to market, which is what we're planning to do with our drug candidates. So we have a very experienced team in diverse disciplines. And our CEO and board chairman, Johnson Lau, his background, he's from Hong Kong, and his background is actually, he was a surgeon. And then he entered the field of pharmaceuticals, was very successful, worked in big pharma, and over the years, he brought many of his colleagues and friends who had the deepest, greatest experience, he brought them on board to our company. So we have a really interesting, very diverse group of leaders in the US and in China. Next slide, please. And this is our board. Our board is similarly global. So we started, the company was founded in Buffalo out of UB, but over the years it took a global turn. We have a product line of candidates that we in-licensed from around the world, which made us a global company. So similarly now, our board is global. We have notably the former Prime Minister of Canada joined our board. Her name is Kim Campbell, and she's in Vancouver. And we also have several board members in Hong Kong. And we have Flint Bessiker, who's our Chief Operating Officer here in the US. Next slide, please. These maps really just show what we have going on in the two countries. And the reason we focus our business strategy on the US and China is because the United States is the world's largest healthcare market, and China is the world's fastest growing healthcare market. So by forming a business strategy across both countries, manufacturing in both countries, creating relationships with the FDAs in China and in the US, we're able to create a business strategy for both countries that can capitalize on these enormous healthcare markets. That will benefit the community in which we're operating, which will be here in Dunkirk, and it also benefits cancer patients around the world. Next slide, please. So, we have as we've heard this morning, we have public-private partnership with SUNY Poly and the state of New York. And what we have with the public-private partnership that we have with SUNY Poly and the governor's office is both here in Dunkirk for our large manufacturing facility, and also we have our North American headquarters in downtown Buffalo in the Conventus building. And in that facility, not only do we have our corporate headquarters, but we're also doing research and development. And so those research and development and formulation activities will, those will go right into the products that we're making in our enormous facility here in Dunkirk. And also in October of 2015, we launched a sister deal with Chongqing, China, which is a 34 million person city in China that no one's really ever heard of here. But it's a humongous city, and we've developed a very strong relationship with them. And that announcement was made in October of 15. So what we're doing in the US with manufacturing and doing in China are going to be very closely aligned and close collaboration, and it's all toward the same goals. So the products that we'll be making in China will be complementary to the products that we're making in Dunkirk. So everything, our entire system, it feeds itself. So we start with the research and development, and we end with the distribution. So we sort of control the whole chain of the product. Which brings me to the Dunkirk facility. So one of the things that's most exciting about this facility is that it's going to be GMP, good manufacturing practices, which means that it aligns with the FDA's highest standards. And when we talk about those standards, we have to focus on the people who are going to be working in the facility, the people who are going to be trained in Dunkirk and Fredonia. And those people, they're all going to have to comply with GMP. And that means the Code of Federal Regulations, and all this slide does is give you a sense of the things that the people who work in the plant, they're going to have to know all these things, and every little thing that goes into them. There's record keeping, and there's compliance with all of the guidelines, because if anything goes even slightly off track, then it's not in compliance. So when we're talking about the programs and the training and the apprenticeships that are going to come into play, getting people ready to work into these facilities, it all comes back to these regulations. That's sort of where it begins. Next slide, please. Which makes the quality system so important. And so back in Buffalo, where we're all planning who's on first, who's doing what do we need to do to get ready for this facility, there's a big focus on the quality system. Because when you have a GMP facility that complies with the FDA regulations, everything comes back to quality. And quality infiltrates the material system, the production system, the laboratory control systems, everything. Next slide, please. which makes the people so important. So you see on the right, you have this expensive, state-of-the-art equipment that we're going to be bringing in here. This will be a state-of-the-art facility with some of the most cutting-edge equipment that really isn't in place in one facility anywhere in the country. It's going to be here. And the people are going to be operating it. The people are responsible for cleaning it, checking it, making sure it's in compliance, which makes the training so important, the education, the preparation of the employees. Because out comes the drugs. And so, next slide please. What we'll be making are injectables, both for syringes and filled vials, and also pills and capsules, which means separate production lines doing very different things, being operated by people who have skill sets in those very specific things. And so when I think about this, and I think about what we'll be making, I think about how important it is for the people who are going to be working in that plant to have all of the proper skills and to understand the importance of what they're doing, because what they're doing on those machines is actually going to go into people's mothers and people's grandfathers who have cancer all around the world. Next slide, please. And so the jobs are going to be, the good news is, the jobs are going to cross the whole spectrum. So when we have a community like this that has universities and all sorts of opportunities for education for young people, but it also has all of these people who have wonderful skill sets, who've been employed their entire lives, and they're ready for something new, we're going to have opportunities for everyone. Non-technical positions and technical positions. So for people who really want to get trained in a very highly technical job, they can do that training here in Chautauqua County. They can come to our company, be trained there, have an apprenticeship there, internships there, while they continue their education. And when they get out of school, they can start a really good job as a young person deciding to stay in Chautauqua. We also will have jobs for people who are trained in other things and they want to switch gears and go to this great new place, and they could do a little bit of training and be ready for a position as well. Next slide, please. These 4 positions are representative of the types of positions that we see as being trained in Chautauqua and then coming to our facility. So there are some positions at the company where we'll need to bring in people from very specific disciplines, possibly from far across the world, to come in and lead the tip-top piece of this. These positions here, this is the bread and butter. This is where our young people can get trained. This is where people can fit right in. They can look at this and say, hey, 3 years later, I could be one of those guys. And so, next slide, please. So for example, a production operator, they could come in, they could get the training that they need, and really, what you see here, the bottom skill there is for all of them. They have to be able to read and follow standard operating procedures, because it all comes back to being able to comply with those FDA standards. But you can see that they start at minimum wage, and it goes up to $25 an hour over time. So it gives our young people a lot to look forward to, and they can see a career path. Next slide. And this is another one. So production mechanics, these are the people who run the equipment. These are the people who do the most technical things with this really technical equipment, and the salary range is a little bit higher. And so the next 2 slides are similar. It just gives a little bit more detail on the 2 other positions. Go ahead to the next one. So that gives you just sort of a broad brush overview of what we're doing. We have a lot of work to do. We're so happy to finally be engaging with this community. I'm really looking forward to having our HR group engage with all of the people who are involved in the educational system, and also the LED, and we're just so excited to be involved in the educational side, the business side, and to really dive in and get to know your community. So thanks very much for your time.
Incredible, Terry. Thank you very much. I think we're going to do a Q&A. Is that right? Okay.
There's a small sheet of paper in your packet. came in. If you have a question, I'd like to try to prioritize to hit maybe a similar theme of a topic. Gina in the back, or myself, if you have a card to fill out, start with Walter.
First question. We're not on. I'll be loud. How about that? Can you provide a timeline for the construction of the new facility? This is the first question.
I'm gonna, we anticipated that question. I think right now it's premature to talk the exact timeline. Obviously, we are working as hard as we can to get that done. I think early on, we understood that it would be later this summer to break ground, but we don't really have an updated timeline. I want to field that question there. As soon as we do, I think the whole idea is to proceed as quickly as possible. But obviously, there's additional wickets that are going through right now, so what we hope to do is get that done. And, I'm optimistic that we'll be able to get this started this year, but that's the county executive speaking. Any other comments from you?
I would just say that, as I mentioned, there's a research and development focus, and then there is a manufacturing focus. The R&D is well underway. The HQ headquarters location is well underway in the Covenus building. So, there is a construction leg, as you build buildings. So the Covenus is online and moving quickly.
Next question.
Next question, will the new facility be LEED certified? And the second part of the question, are there environmental risks that our community should be aware of / prepared for with the new facility? For example, fire service training on potential hazardous materials. So the first part, again, will the new facility be LEED certified?
That I do not know. So I'm not even going to venture. I would say we certainly will be looking at it. So. As far as hosting every community that we have established these hubs in, there is a laser focus on environmental health and safety. And that's dictated by the industry as well as SUNY Poly. So certainly in any of these industries, advanced industries, you're dealing with chemicals, materials, and there are very strict protocols that are put in place, and that's part of that workforce training, to make sure that there are no issues related to that in the work environment. Obviously, I'll let Terry, if you have anything on.
You did a great job with that.
But certainly we, as SUNY Poly has 15 years experience in overseeing these types of activities, in semiconductor area where we work in a lot of different materials.
The next question, what percentage of the 450 anticipated jobs will be for local residents?
Well, I would anticipate that the vast majority of the jobs in the facility are going to be local residents. Generally, what you'll see, and I can only really comment on the semiconductor industry, what you'll see in the semiconductor industry, about 70 to 75% are 2-year degree and below. And then you have around 10 to 15% that are engineering, bachelor's, master's, and then you'll have 5 to 10% in PhD. Now, with this joint hub, you have an R&D activity and you have a manufacturing activity. So in the R&D activity, you'll have a much higher number of PhD supported by technicians as well, where in the manufacturing it won't be as as heavily populated by the PhD level people. But Teresa, you're the expert in this area.
No, that's right. And the R&D is in Buffalo, and the manufacturing is here. So that's absolutely right.
The next question. What support businesses do you envision could be needed in our area?
Okay, I'll take it first try. Again, I've had the opportunity to live through it. I've been at SUNY Poly for 19 years, so I've watched it grow from a nascent strategy. When everybody laughed that we could never attract a computer chip factory to New York State, you know, there's always a lot of questioning about what an industry requires to flourish. What you definitely find is you will see an upgrade in your trades. You will see everything that's required. You will see an upgrade in your support service companies, because many of these advanced factories do not put everyone on their payroll. They outsource to the experts. So, for example, warehousing in the semiconductor industry is not a minor thing. These tools have to be kept in ultra clean, controlled environments. They weigh several tons, so rigging them is not a minor thing. You notice Teresa had mentioned warehousing is one of the focus areas. That is an area that you might think, oh, warehousing, it's fairly it's Walmart, you know, but no, in this sector, warehousing is, you know, the standards that are applied are unmatched. So any support business that is supplying has to up their game to prepare for this. And SUNY Poly will be working with them to assist in that. I'll give you a good example. In our clean rooms, you'll see some big cranes in there. And those cranes are used to service the tools. And so the local crane company who builds cranes to move heavy things fast, in this case, they had to have cranes that provided exact motion, because a slight mismatch in the motion could damage a $150 million tool. And so for them, it created an entire book of new business called Exact Motion, where they are now marketing around the world using the pedigree of customers that they have at SUNY Poly as proof that they can build these cranes, operate them, and install them, and do it in a way that doesn't contaminate the clean room and create vibration and all the different aspects that people care about in the clean room. So you're going to probably find the same thing in the pharmaceutical arena. And so I think as a region, this is where having organizations like LED is so important for hosting those types of supplier training and insights on what the specific requirements are for the industry.
In preparation for the arrival of Athenex, what can be done at the grassroots level to prepare for the arrival, to welcome them, so that employees will want to live and become involved with our community?
I love that question. Back in Buffalo, the various disciplines who are going to be engaging directly with this community, quality, human resources, our manufacturing side, they can't wait to get in here and meet the community and meet the business leaders and the educational leaders. Everyone needs to get on the same page. We can give a lot more color to the big picture slides that we brought today. There will be very finite detail on what we have planned, what we need, and what we can't do ourselves that we need from the community and from the schools. And so that's all being brainstormed right now. It's being gone through with people who've got decades of experience in doing things just like this. So we will be engaging, we'll be bringing our people to your community to have these real sit-down, roll-up-your-sleeves conversations.
I would add too, since my title is Economic Outreach, which means to bring in resources to support the programs. When you have anchor partners and the whole RD&D transition pathway, we're in an ideal position to compete for federal funding through competitive grants from the National Science Foundation, NIST, Department of Health, what have you. So being able to establish these in partnership with, say, Fredonia and the community colleges and organizations is, depends on the solicitation, but a very powerful platform to bring in funding, additional funding for these other organizations. So it's a, all boats rise strategy.
And what we've done with the IDA, Christine Morbido is the account manager for Phoenix. All of the books that were built with the letters from organizations are now in the hands of Terry and her team. And what we're going to be doing is that coordination of all of the organizations of the needs, so we can have an orderly interface between the company of what they need and getting all the right people there. I will say that this is a true collaboration, teamwork in every sense of the word, where we want the rising tide to float the boats of our community, our organizations. We want enrollment at JCC, we want enrollment in Fredonia, we want our businesses to have all that opportunity, because that's really going to give us the strength where we see that growth in Chautauqua County. So to start off, that's where we're headed, is a connection between the community and the company. And then obviously as that grows, then it will expand and grow out. And Kevin will put on additional resources. I think we talked about that, right? Additional resources to grow to meet that need out here. So we're going to start with that connection, and then as it goes, away we go. But we want to make sure the company has an easy interface into the community so that everybody isn't out there, banging and getting crosswise with each other. So that's how we're going to start.
Just two other quick questions. Has the county looked into mass transit to this new work site to reduce congestion and pollution? For example, a bike path?
That's a good idea. Not yet, but we should. And so, yeah, all of these things we look, we have right now a UBRI initiative with the City of Dunkirk, the Village of Fredonia, looking at our CFA applications and looking at how this community up here not only benefits from the cultural and historic area of Fredonia, the tourism aspect of the city, but also then how we move that workforce. So that's got to be integral to all of the planning that will go on for this. So great point, and that's all, I think, part of the things. When we come together, we identify these needs, and then we're going to do everything we can to get it done. That's a good point.
I would just add too that the regional council strategy that Governor Cuomo launched 6 years ago is designed just for that purpose, to dovetail transformational projects into the fabric of the strategy for that region.
And the final question regarding once the facility is open, what is the timeline for hiring? And sort of the final summary opportunity to answer this, what are the top 3 needs you have as you look toward the startup? What do you need from the community?
I'll take the easy one first. The timeline for hiring, we're actually it dovetails with the second question as well. We're going to have to be teeing up the hiring well before we open, because people are going to have to be, as I've explained with the regulations, people are going to have to be trained, they're going to have to be good at it, they're going to have to be really ready to walk in there and start working. So hiring will start well in advance of actual opening of the plant. And what we need from the community, that's pretty easy. We need to engage, we need to figure out what needs to be done. We've got a lot of ideas about that, and I'm sure that you'll know better than we do what already there is to offer and what can be expanded upon and made new. And so really I think the first thing that we need to do is get to know each other better and find out specifically what our needs are in very, very finite detail, and then what is already here, and then what can be created, and what can evolve in time for us to open our plant.
Very good. Kevin, do you want to?
Just to say, join me in welcoming, thanking and welcoming,
Please join me in A round of applause for our guests. This has been wonderful. Thank you. This has been great. We look forward to working with you.
So on behalf of the Local Economic Development Committee, SUNY Fredonia, Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, the County Executive's Office, Athenex, and SUNY Polytechnic Institute, we thank you for coming out and showing your support and enthusiasm. Please, if you're not involved in the Local Economic Development Committee, ask one of the committee members how you can be. And lastly, we have a lovely evaluation form that is just missing your input. Please provide that if you will, and you can turn that in at the table here at the exit. Thank you and enjoy this lovely day.